Today's subject is hookers, specifically the ones in Heian Period Japan. You know you want to hear about it. Early on, there was a type of adult entertainer who specialized in singing called asobi. Some you can find on busy roads, but most lived near ports. They were most famous for riding out on little boats and serenading the fishermen and travelers out in the waters. Men would get lost in their voices, then hop on over to get lost in their chambers. Sometimes women would as well, they didn't discriminate. They welcomed breast connoisseurs of all types, from commoners to elite men, even emperors. Now the Japanese back then saw prostitution differently from today. Sex and entertainment were linked. The singing, the conversation, and the sex was part of a package deal. It was more like a girlfriend experience, or a pop idol girlfriend experience. Here's a good way to look at it. Nowadays, there are massage therapists, and then there are massage therapists who offer more intimate services. We call them prostitutes, and think of the massage thing as a front to hide the real service. If we thought like the Japanese did back then, the massage would be as important as the sex. In Heian, Japan, they paid for the singing as much as the humping. There were different types of entertainers. You had the biggest group, the singers on boats, called asobi, but you also had puppeteers, called kugutsu, and dancers, called shirabyoshi. We would call all these people prostitutes. But did you know that at first they didn't have a concept of prostitutes? They may not even have had a general name for people who sold sex. It's a bit hard to explain, so let's make an analogy with people who are similar to prostitutes, YouTubers. Nowadays, you have your political YouTubers, your anime YouTubers, your cursed VTubers, all kinds of degenerates. They all have different ways of making money, but most of them use sponsorships to some degree. But we don't have a name specifically for YouTubers who make money through sponsorships. We don't categorize them as sponsored tubers because it's just not an important category. Similarly, Japan had different types of entertainers who offered sex on the menu, but they didn't categorize them as prostitutes. They didn't invent a name for them like sexertainers or something. They called them by their specific jobs, asobi, kugutsu, or shirabyoshi. Later on, this would change. After the Heian period, sex workers would be a recognized group. Hookers were hard to categorize, maybe because people at the time were just super kinky. I have some videos on the naughty debauchery that went on behind closed doors in the Heian period if you want to check them out. People slept around, a lot. Everyone was in an open relationship. Men had a bunch of lovers, women had a bunch of lovers, men slept with other men, so basically heaven with poems. Sometimes it's hard to tell who was a sex worker and who was a normal woman. If a woman slept with a lot of men and the men paid her, was she a prostitute? Or was she a woman who had many lovers and expected gifts in return? Was there even a difference? Hard to tell. Well, she may not be a hooker, but she's certainly a hoe. There were professionals like asobi that did mostly fit our definition of prostitutes, though. These ladies were not seen mainly as sex providers, but as skilled entertainers. Like how one would admire the skill of an expert flute player, one would also admire how these women played with your flute. A night of work for these asobi looked like this. They hung around places with a lot of travelers, like roads, but the most common areas were around ports next to the sea or rivers. They would row their boats up and down the river and sing for people in other boats passing by. Older women steered with a pole and carried a parasol if it was daytime. Younger women wore elegant dresses and sang their sultry voices, enticing men to hop on over. Even women enjoyed their performances. Poets and writers wrote glowing reviews about their heavenly voices and their other heavenly qualities. A tryst in a boat on the waves equals a lifetime of delightful encounters. And I love this next one. You will too once I explain it. Her knowledge of all the sexual positions, the merits of her lute strings and buds of wheat, and her mastery of the dragon's flutter and tiger's tread techniques are all beyond compare. So lute strings here means a particular lady part, and so does buds of wheat. Can you guess which parts they are in the comments? The dragon's flutter and tiger's tread are two different sex positions. Let me know what you think these are too. Use your imagination. The boats of these ladies were many, and the night carried their voices across the waters. Boats of thirsty fishermen and travelers lined up on the river to listen. Merchants sold their wares. Once in a while, a man would hop onto the boats of a singer and into her chambers. Even women were known to join the fun. Where did the fun take place? Well, obviously on the boat, but people also went to the asobi's home. She could have ventured to the customer's boat or home if needed. An inn was also a popular option. Brothels were not yet a thing. Once a customer was alone with her, they probably had a little conversation. Guests would call these ladies by their stage names. Like how today's ladies of the pole have stage names, and they're all named after some type of shiny rock like ruby or emerald. Asobi had their own stage names, and they often had to do with Buddhism, like names of Buddhist gods. I guess some people had a god fetish, nothing like having Buddha take you for a ride. In medieval Japan, normally women were not called by their personal names, but by their jobs, or they were called as someone's daughter, like, "Hark, there goes Babunaga's daughter." The fact that people called female entertainers by their own names, even if not by their personal names, suggests that they had a special position outside of the normal social hierarchy for women. These ladies spent time with the Heian elites, something commoners almost never did. Some even gained the right to freely approach men of high status, a rare honor. Some of these ports became famous pleasure spots, and people traveled from far away to experience the fun, kind of like Vegas, the Netherlands Red Light District, or the Linfamy YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell. Some asobi became famous adult stars, and high-ranking people in the government would travel far to see them, because what else are you gonna do with money? The asobi sang imayo, a genre of singing that was trending in the Heian court, and it attracted many of the elites. Sometimes these noblemen got caught in the love trap and married the ladies or made them concubines. Even emperors did this. How did these women get paid? By lots of things. Japan was mostly a gift or barter economy, with rice and cloth being commonly traded items. They did have coins, but it wasn't widespread. People paid in rice, clothing, wine, silk, fabric, coins, even land. In one account, a dude offered his singer 2 fans, which, come on man, show some respect. To be fair, the man was ahead of his time. Paying girls by only fans has become popular these days. In another account, a group of asobi were paid 40 rolls of silk and 60 koku of rice. 1 koku equals enough rice to last one person 1 year. A female entertainer could be independent or part of an organization. If part of an organization, the ladies had to divide their earnings. They would cut fabric into smaller pieces or split rice into smaller containers. One source says that the women often fought with each other over how to divide the loot, and it could get vicious. This gives us a rare peek behind the veil. In public, they acted elegant, but behind the scenes, they could be greedy and will cut a bitch for some cloth. About the ladies themselves, their ages were all over the place. You had girls who started soon after puberty, like around 14. They may also stay in the business for a long time. There were women in their 50s or higher. Good for them. Most came from the common population, but there were also women who served as ladies-in-waiting for great lords. These were ladies who supplemented their income by becoming adult stars. Women who needed a little extra rice money because the luxury bamboo Shaneru handbags were on sale. Many of the women had husbands and families who were generally fine with it. One source said that the only time a husband would yell at his wife was if she had too few customers, and that fathers were proud if their daughters had many customers. Somehow this sounds like an exaggeration, but it does suggest that their families did not have problems with them being in the sex business. Asobi organizations were formed by the ladies themselves, with the heads of these groups coming from among their ranks. There's not much info on how these worked, and how much control they had over their members, though. There was an interesting link between sex and religion. Pleasure and worship went together like pizza and pineapple don't. What I mean is, it seems weird to us, but people liked to have sex around temples. Back then, people went on pilgrimages to shrines and temples to get their worship on. For some reason, they also thought, well, I'm on the road, I'm away from family, time to find some hoes. That's why entertainment hubs formed near popular shrines and temples, and adult entertainers tended to gather near popular pilgrimage routes. One source says that the powerful Fujiwara no Michinaga spent time with an asobi while on pilgrimage, and so did retired Emperor Gosanjo. Elites on pilgrimages liked to flaunt their wealth and power, so they would let it rain on the ladies of pleasure they encountered on the way. Whenever a powerful lord went on a pilgrimage, an orgy of asobi would line up and battle for his attention by doing the Heian Japan equivalent of lifting their tops. which was to sing or maybe reveal a clavicle or something. Oh, scandalous. Buddhism frowned upon sex at the time, like it did with all categories of fun. So sometimes people did this weird rationalization where they refused to share a bed with a courtesan on the way to the temple or shrine, fearing that it would render them impure or unworthy. But on the way back, it was open season. In the Heian period, adult entertainers didn't really have a stigma attached to them. Many people saw them positively. They could leave the profession if they wanted and go do other jobs and take other positions. Those that entertained elite men probably had long-term connections and relationships with the powerful, giving them many opportunities. After the Heian period, though, this positive view started to shift. We saw more people blame adult entertainers for distracting people from their jobs, wasting money, enticing people to leave their families, steering people away from Buddhahood, the same things people say about this channel. They also passed some laws that hurt sex workers. The sex business was never totally acceptable. Even during the Heian period, there were people who blamed the sex trade for societal problems. Now, the sources that we have about these women were written mostly by educated men in the aristocracy. They may have painted a rosy picture, like an idealized version of adult stars, making them more glamorous than they were. These women mingled with the elites, but they were rarely part of the elites. Were there women who sold their bodies without entertainment? There must have been, especially among women whose customers were commoners, but we can't be sure how many there were compared to the singers and dancers. We do know of cases where elite men slept with prostitutes without any mention of entertainment. Okay, today's quiz question is this. Which retired emperor started the Jokyu War? Let me know in the comments. I'll choose a winner tomorrow from among the correct answers. Winner gets one of these babies. Good luck. Alright, we have a new patron this week, Philip Lamb, the Laminator. Thanks so much. Hope you guys had a good Thanksgiving. I love you and spread the knowledge.